Hello everyone, this is Alberto. I'm passionate about data science and data analysis. Today I will show you how to make a connection from Python to a cloud database. The prerequisites are having a basic knowledge of Python and Postgres and an Azure account. The objective is apply all your previous knowledge from Python and SQL to use them together. First, we're going to create a database server and we're going to load data to that database. Then we're going to read the same data but now from Python, and we're going to plot some interesting things about the data. Okay, let's begin. First, we have to go to Azure's portal and we're going to create a new resource. Then we're going to type Postgres we're going to go to create. We're going to choose a flexible server, and here we have the configurations. The subscription will tell us where the payments will be made, and the resource group will help us to cluster all our services to different projects. Now, here we have the server name that will appear in the host and the region. This is an important parameter because it has to be as near as possible to the place where most of your transactions will be made. And this will make all your process faster. Now, here we have workload type. And here we have the configuration of our server. In this case, we're going to use development. That is a very simple server because it's mainly for small databases and personal projects. And now we're going to check the availability. The availability is important because it could happen that a natural disaster could occur and then all our data would be lost. So we can have a copy of all the data in a different place. Now, here we have the administrator account. Here we have to set up the admin username and the password. And now let's go to networking. Here we have public access and private access. Private access is for virtual networks. In this case, we're going to be using public access. And here is an important part, firewall rules. This is my current public address, but it's important to notice that sometimes internet providers use different public addresses. And also, it's very common that they use a public address for many users. So we have to make sure that our address is in the firewall rules. We can also add a range of addresses. For example, we can add absolutely all the addresses, but this is not recommended because of security. Then we can go to review and create, and we can check if all the data was correct. And we can create our first database. It takes a little bit, about 5 minutes. Now I'm going to show you the next part. So here I already have a database. Here we have two main settings, networking and connection settings. In networking, we have the same options that we had before. And in connection strings, we have all the data we need to make a connection from the terminal. So we're going to copy this. And here we're going to make a connection. In database name, we're going to use Postgres. That is the default database in Postgres. And the password will be hide in this moment. Now here we are in the database, and let's see what's in here. Here we can observe that we have the typical Postgres databases, Postgres, template 0 and template 1, but we also have Azure Maintenance and Azure Sys. Those ones are databases used by Azure to administrate our database server. And here I also have other databases I have created before. So let's begin and let's create a database. Let's create a database class 1. And we're going to load the data. The file with the data, it's in the description, as well as the GitHub repository. Now I have the file here in this path. Oh, first I have to change to my database class 1. And now I will insert the data. And the file is classdata.sql. Now we can see that the table was created and we inserted 144 registers. Let's see the table. Here we have the table airline passengers, and let's check the data inside. Select all from airline passengers. And we're gonna limit the answer to 10. And we can observe here our data. Now, we're going to get this data, but now from Python. So let's go to our notebook. Here we have to import psycopg2 and pandas. And then we're going to create a connection using psycopg2. Here we have to introduce all the information needed to make a connection. The host, the port, the database name, the user, password, and the SSL mode. In this case, you can access the data from the database I created with the user only read user and the password. And we're going to make a query. So we need to create a cursor. A very important thing about the cursor as well as the connections is that we have to close them after we use them. Okay, so with will help us with that with the cursor, and I will close the connection later. And we're going to use the cursor to execute the next query. What question do we want to answer? Well, an interesting question would be, exists a pattern that can relate the month and the air passengers? Well, let's try to see if there is correlation. First, we're going to extract the month from the column air period, and we're going to cast that value as an integer, and we're going to use an alias of moon, and we're going to cast as well as integer the average number of passengers. This will be from the database airline passengers, and we're going to group the data by the month and we're going to order the data as well as in the month. And after we execute the query, we have to fetch the data. We can fetch all, or we can fetch one. In this case, we're going to fetch all the data. In case the query is an insert, you have to make a commit. Well, in this case, the data will be stored in query data, and we'll be using this variable to create a data frame. Finally, here we have all the data, and we can observe that the months with the most average passengers are July and August. Okay, and now let's see this graphically. Here we have the months and the average passengers. And now let's create some registers. If we want to create a register, we will also need a cursor. But in this case, we're going to use a commit. First, we're going to write our query. We're going to insert into our table the air period and the air passengers. For example, here we can use a new date. For example, let's insert 2022. Here, we also have to indicate the values. Let's see 100. In this case, we have to make a commit. Let's try our query. Here, it's very important for you to check the credentials. In this case, you have to be connected to your own database. So if you don't create your own database, you will not be able to insert new registers. Let's check if the query was executed correctly. In this case, I'm using a different database. And here, we're going to use a select all from our table we're gonna order by the air period, and here we have our new year register. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the class. If you have any questions, you can let them in the comment sections below. And thank you.